तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना। We were studying rather, we have been studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. But today is Master Mahashay's birthday according to Indian calendar. So we take off from the Gospel and today discuss or read Master Mahashay's biography in short. And it is so much thrilling, inspiring, a lesson to not only to all householders, but to sannyasis as well. That this short biography available in the Bengali book which I am holding, written by no less than revered Swami Pitambarananda ji, who at that time was the president of the whole Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission. And it is so instructive that suppose we are not able to complete it today, we will not hush up, we will go slowly. If we are not able to, we will not rush ourselves. So if we are not able to complete it today, we will continue it even tomorrow, because it is extremely instructing, inspiring for all the sadhakas. So, and unfortunately, or whatever you may call it, it has not been reproduced in the English book. It is available after the end of the Bengali Sri Ramakrishna Kathāmrita, the Akhanda edition published by Udbodhan, and so I try to go on translating it in English, and if it is not completed, I would like to continue it tomorrow also. So I start. Now, Mahendranāth Gupta was his name. And in the Ramakrishna Kathāmrita, that is Gospel, he calls himself M, Master, Mani, Mohini Mohan, one devotee. Using these names, he is trying to hide himself. Why? Because he wants to show that the Gospel is not my credit. The Gospel is Sri Ramakrishna's, and also it is for all. So he wants to hide his name. And Swami Vivekananda has commented upon it because his surname was Gupta. Gupta means hidden, literally taking. Now, in the first when he published a small pamphlet of this gospel in English, Swami Vivekananda said that Socrates' dialogues are all Plato, recorded by his disciple Plato, and Plato becomes very prominent in those dialogues, but you are hidden completely. So that is a pun on the name Gupta, and that is a fact that Master Mahashaya does not show himself much in the gospel. In 1882, he had the first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna. At that time, he was the headmaster in the Metropolitan School, branch Shambhadar. Rakhal Maharaj, Baburam Maharaj, Subodh Maharaj, Purna, Tejachandra, Paltu, Kshirod, Narayan. All these students, Sri Ramakrishna's disciples, were the students of his school. And that is why he is more known as Master Mahashaya. Now, by spreading this gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, hundreds and thousands of spiritual seekers have this book in their house, and they are benefited, and that is why he has qualified himself of what he describes in the shloka at the beginning, which we are chanting. That shloka tells us, Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibiriditam Kalmashapam Shravanamangalam Shrimadatam. This Kathāmrita Bhuvi Grunanti Ye, those who described it on this earth, Bhuridajana, they are the greatest donors, greatest philanthropists, they are the greatest benefactors of humanity. So he himself qualifies for that post. He wrote it originally in the 5 volumes. And we know that how flowing is the descriptions, deep are the ideas, small sentences, but too much meaningful, universal sympathy, extreme broadness, and deep inner vision. And it has made this book a very high place in all spiritual literature. And its writer has automatically occupied a very high place in the production of spiritual literature. And for one life, it would have been more than sufficient. But along with that, day and night, he used to talk on Sri Ramakrishna only, and that has benefited so many people. You know that a 14 or 16 volume have been published under the name Gospel of or Sri Math Prasanga, that is reminiscences are about Sri Math's conversations. In English also, in Bengali also. When he used to talk, his incomparable memory, and he was a poet by nature. And so the poetic way in which he used to talk, what he used to do through his talks? Raise, awaken the spiritual aspiration and love for spiritual progress among all the listeners. He used to draw the picture of Sri Ramakrishna. Picture means through his literature. So he has spread peace and faith in a holy illumination. Permanently, his mind used to dwell in Dakshineshwar or Kamarpukur. Now the listeners might come to him and ask any question, but while replying in a living language, he used to put before him incidents from Sri Ramakrishna's life. He passed away in 1932, 4th June. Every day he used to quote from the Gospel. 1854, 14th July. English date, was his birthday. Friday. Now in Bengal, this is taken as Nagapanchami. Though in Maharashtra and many other places, UP, we know Nagpanchami will come next month. But in Bengal, this is taken as Nagpanchami. And so he is born on Nagpanchami. He was born in his father's house in Shimulia, that is same area as Swami Vivekananda's birthplace. Later on, his father purchased Guru Prasad, a house in Guru Prasad Chaudhary Lane. Father's name, Madhusudan Gupta. That house is still existing, and now it is known as Kathāmrita Bhavan. In his days, that house was known as Thakurbadi, the house of gods. Father Madhusudan, mother Swarnamai, both were known for their peaceful life. And they had 4 sons and 4 daughters. Mahendranāth was the third among siblings. He was very devoted to his mother. Once when he was 4 years old, with his mother, with a boat, he went to see the chariot festival in Mahesh. While returning, they all stopped at Dakshineshwar because they wanted to have the darshan of Bhavtarini Kalimata. And they were walking here and there in that temple garden. And somehow he got separated from his mother and was weeping. Then from the temple, one gentle Brahmin came out and put his hand on his head and consoled him. And the child became so much attracted that he was constantly looking at the face of that Brahmin. Later on, he used to say, maybe he was Sri Ramakrishna, because a few years before that, Rani Rasmani had established that Kali temple and Thakur was the pujari there. Once more, when age was 5, with his mother, he was on the terrace looking at the beautiful blue sky. Suddenly, he felt for the infinity. Whenever it used to rain, he used to stand on the open ground, and through that rain, he used to always contemplate on the limitless reality. The goat sacrifice in the Kali temple used to hurt him. He had seen it with his mother, and he had vowed on that day that it has to be stopped later on. But in the future course of his life, his thought process was completely changed, and hence no action was taken on that thought. But his mother died when he was a young boy. But in a dream, he saw mother telling him that I cared for you when you were a child. Now I will continue to care for you. You may not be able to see me. A continuous flow of religious ideas was in his life. Sri Ramakrishna has one day suddenly asked him, do you remember the storms of the month Ashwin? And Master Masha had said, yes, sir. At that time, his age was 9 or 10. He told Thakur that I was alone in a room and was calling upon gods. While passing through near any temple, he used to stand in front and bow down to that deity. During Durga Pujas, he used to stand in a devotional mood in front of the image. For some confluence or some religious festival, when many sannyasis used to gather in Calcutta, used to become restless to have their company. And he used to say later on joyfully that this desire for company of the sadhus itself has brought him to the greatest sadhu in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. During school and college studies, he had studied Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the passages in those books which are highly spiritual, he used to memorize. In the drama Kumar Sambhav, where Shiva's meditation is described, then it is described that in the cave, Shiva is deep in samadhi, and Nandi at the door is instructing all living beings and even the nature to stop its restlessness. And by his command, which could not be overridden, trees were motionless, bees were not singing, birds were silent, animals were motionless, and whole atmosphere has become steady, reading that, oh, he had memorized that portion. And in the Kalidasa's drama Shakuntal, when Kanva Muni's ashram is described, or in the Bhatti Kavya, Rama and Lakshmana, for the killing of the demoness Tadaka, have gone to Vishwamitra's place of sacrifice, they are seeing that all the trees have become black due to the smoke from the yajna. All these he had memorized, all these places. So he had a tremendous memory. And about Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he has said, before coming to Sri Ramakrishna, like a mad person, I used to read this book. And he was so well acquainted with the New Testament of the Bible. Later on, during his religious talks, he used to fluently quote passages from the Bible. Then he had studied law for some days, and then Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti. From that he had learned the Hindus' sociology. And he used to say, you may practice law or may not practice law, but read law. Because in that you will be acquainted with how sages lived, how they behaved, and what were their rules. And in school and colleges, always to get scholarships. Matric, he had passed from Hare School, second rank in the board. In intermediate, he had fifth rank in the province. In BA, he had the third rank in the university. And during his student days, philosophy, history, English literature, science, he had, with great sincerity, he had studied. The English professor Tony, Master Masha, was a favorite student of his. Before he completed his college education, he had to marry. Thakur Charan Sen's daughter, Keshav Chandra Sen's, related through his sister, name was Nikunja Devi. That was in 1873. That means 19 years of age. How he was studying law at that time is surprising. How he had finished his MA in 18 years of age or 19 years of age. But after that marriage, he could not continue his education. He was getting ready for that MBL examination, but he had to join a service job due to somehow increase the income in the family. And the first job he got was in a mercantile firm. Later on, he shifted to teaching. And this little surprising, how he used to give up those jobs or what used to happen. Several schools, he was the principal, and in many colleges, he was the professor of English. And the surprising is that simultaneously, sometimes he was the headmaster of two schools. Or reader in 2 colleges. And he never had to trouble himself for discipline of the students, because the students used to get so much respect for his personality and his teaching that they would never become indisciplined by his presence. Otherwise, many teachers have to spend a lot of energy in keeping discipline in the class. Now, before meeting Sri Ramakrishna, he had attended Keshav's lectures. He does not seem to have become a member any time. And why he was attracted to Keshav lectures, that he later on himself analyzed and said, because Keshav used to quote from Sri Ramakrishna without naming Sri Ramakrishna. So Keshav was influenced by Sri Ramakrishna. He used to tell ideas of Sri Ramakrishna, though he did not take his name. And that was the cause, Master Maharshaya says, I was attracted to Keshav said. And used to take Keshav as like a god. Then later I came to know that Keshav used to go to Sri Ramakrishna quite often or invite Sri Ramakrishna to his house or Brahma's meetings. Now, here Gambhiranji has skipped over some unhealthy ghatanas. We already know that his mother passed away early. We know from other sources his father married a second time. And continuous conflict between his wife and her mother-in-law and all members of the family. Continuous strifes were going on. And we also know that he thought of committing suicide because of that trouble. And in the night, he left his house with the idea of committing suicide. But his wife saw that and she thought there is some problem. So she followed him. And because she was with him, he had to give up that idea of suicide. But in the night, he did not come back to his house. He stayed with his elder sister in Varanagar. So, providentially, from Calcutta towards Dakshineshwar, much towards Dakshineshwar, he had already gone. Now, before that, his relative, Mahendranāth Gupta, who was well known in Brahma Samaj, from him in 1881, Master Maharshaya had heard the name of Sri Ramakrishna. Now in 1882, February, his relative, that we know in the beginning of Gospel, we have read that and discussed that. That's his relative Siddheshwar Mazumdar, seeing him depressed, took him, asked him, shall we go to some gardens? And he agreed. And from Varanagar, traveling through various gardens, they had reached very near Dakshineshwar. So there Siddheshwar said, shall we go to Kali temple? There are beautiful garden there and Ganges is flowing nearby and a Paramahansa lives there. And Master Maharshaya said yes. And when they entered, They did not see the garden or the river. They went straight to Sri Ramakrishna's room. And he was so impressed, he has described, as if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is singing glories of God with the close devotees are there. And then Gambaran Swami says, because of his poetic temperament, he went outside. But there we already seen a great psychology that the mind becomes restless. And so he had gone out of Sri Ramakrishna's room. And when they returned back, Sri Ramakrishna was in a grave mood because he was contemplating on God in the evening. And he thought, now we shall not disturb him. He is thinking of God. So he went back and Sri Ramakrishna told him, come again. Now we know these things, that the second meeting was in the morning and Thakur asked him, have you married? And he said, yes. And Sri Ramakrishna exclaimed, alas, he is married. And then he asked, have you got children? At that time, Master Masha had one son. So he had to say yes. And Thakur again said, alas. Now, why this and why was this happened? We'll see later on that Master Masha could have been a sannyasi like other disciples of Thakur. But because he had married and already had a son, and Thakur said that the Divine Mother keeps some people bound because they have to sing the glories of God. That means Thakur understood well that this is the person who spread Thakur's message through the gospel. And that is why he is married. If he had become sannyasi like others, he could not have done that. And so, mother has kept him in the world by marriage and one child. Later on, he had more sons and daughters. And his pride of education was destroyed by Thakur. We read those things. Now, because he was in Varanagar, 4 times he visited Thakur during that week. And one day Thakur joked, see, he has come again. And Master Masha said, yes, some unseen forces are binding me, attracting me to bring to this place. And Thakur himself said later on when Master Masha came from Calcutta, that there is something here which has attracted these young fellows who are English educated. And one day Thakur explained to him, why in Calcutta there are so many people, why you are attracted? This is the sanskaras of the previous life. And one day Thakur had told him, where is your house? Who are you? Your inside and outside, your previous and future, all this I know. And he had seen Master Mahasaya in the, once Thakur had a desire to see the Chaitanya's Nagar Kirtan, and in that he had seen many people, and he remembered faces of two people there, Balram Basu and Master Mahasaya. And once Thakur said that when you are reading Chaitanya Bhagavat, I could know you, that you are my own. And what is the relation? Significant thing, like a father and son. And this we know well, that Rakal Maharaj was Thakur's son in purely spiritual sense. But in a worldly sense, a father has a son. And that was the relation of Master Mahasaya with Thakur. He used to supply his needs and he observed fast after his death. And just like a son to his father, he behaved. So that Thakur had understood that he is my own, like a son to the father. Oh, we have not yet come to the beautiful places. Oh, shall I jump? This appears to be routine but special. So this sun, the heir apparent of higher life, Thakur gradually taking his mind up and up and up and up. And because of the urge for sannyasi, Thakur used to show him the beautiful qualities of the householder's life. There I want to put up one more thing. To make him afraid, he used to talk of sannyasi in such a way in which Thakur himself has not followed, his disciples have not followed, but he used to talk of sannyasi in such a harsh way to put fear in him, because his tendency to become a sannyasi used to come again and again. Here, Gamaraj is taken the other side, that Thakur is to exalt the glory of a householder's life to keep him there. And he has told, in the house, let them feel that you are their own, but you should know that you do not belong to them. And when he was afraid whether his wife will follow him or not, Thakur has said, when your intentions are proper, you will see that every people around you will come behind you. Now, another point. We see Thakur again and again telling him, you give up argument, you give up rational thinking. Again and again used to say, promise that you will not reason now. And Miran Swami explains, Thakur did not want to make him an irrational, sentimental fool. But this was due to his Western education and study of law, that a wrong concepts had entered into him about the importance of intellect, and that Thakur is curbing down. Now his memory was so strong, and what Thakur used to say used to appeal him so much that after going back to his house, he used to note down all the conversations, to whom Thakur said this, how Thakur was sitting, And he has said about it that till my next coming to Thakur, I used to be completely busy with Thakur's thought, writing down and then reading that again and again. So he himself found himself always near Thakur, though physically he could go in holidays only. So that is from the first day, his mind has become filled with Thakur and nothing else. Now in the beginning he had the thought of Nirakar. And Thakur had taught him how to meditate on Nirakar. Now when Sri Ramakrishna was on the last bed at Kashipur, Master Mashe went with Sri Ramakrishna's permission to Kamarpukur. And most of the way he walked. And everywhere he felt the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, the place to be very holy. He was a poetic by temperament and always used to feel in natural scenes a great joy and devotion. And during Thakur's lifetime, once Master Masha had gone to Kanchenjunga, one of the Himalayan peaks, and he became thrilled with joy and devotion. So when he came back, Thakur said, seeing Himalaya, you are filled with infinity, isn't it? He was shy. He was very humble, tender. But on the other side is this Narendranath, terrible person. But they found very fast friendship, deep relation. This resulted in what? Not only he did for Thakur, but when Narendra was passing through dire straits in the house, he gave him sometimes 100 rupees for 3 months' expenses. And other than that, he used to go to his house in Narendra's absence and put some money in his mother's hand and tell her, don't tell this to Narendra, because he will return it. So much. All flowing inside, no outside show of anything. And then his love for sannyasis and Thakur's disciples. When the Math was in Varanagar, how many times he has spent nights there? So here, from here, we shall find him as a grahastha sannyasi. Thakur had told him, if you give up mentally, it is enough. We know that because he had to write the gospel, Thakur wanted him to be a householder, but renounce insight. And now that is the main thing I wanted to read. Throughout his life, even after Thakur's passing away, he has very rarely spent his night in the house. Once he spent many nights in that hut in Panchavati, where Thakur has practiced sadhana. But it was damp and not properly cared, and he fell ill. Then Preman Swami had to put him in a carriage and send him to his house. Another many times he came and spent days in Navad, in Dakshineshwar. And funniest thing, when he was in his house, in the midnight, he used to take his bed and go to the veranda of Calcutta University Library. And now in that veranda, outside veranda, many beggars and homeless people used to spend their nights. And he used to spend night within them. He wanted to feel how one completely dependent on God spends his nights. See, we, sannyasis and householders, want always to live comfortably in good houses. And his income was not less, he was not penniless. But for tapasya and for feeling like the beggars, feeling like the homeless people, so that he can grow more dependent on God. In the midnight, he used to take his own bed and walk to the university library veranda. Wonderful, isn't it? This is the portion where I wanted to come, and it has come. And in those days, he has gone on so many pilgrimages. Puri, Kashi, Vrindavan, Prayag, Ayodhya, Haridwar. And about that Varanagar Math, Swami Vivekananda said in a letter to Rakhal Maharaj that all the householders had given up contact with us as their useless fellows. Only 4 people, Balaram, Suresh, that is Surendra Mitra, Master Mashay, and Chuni Babu. They were our friends and benefactors. Used to contribute some money for the expense of the Varanagar Math also. And with Holy Mother, he had a deep relation. I do not see that thing mentioned here, but though he was Thakur's intimate disciple, he was initiated by the Holy Mother. Today we can go to Kathāmrita Bhavan and see a small room on the 3rd floor where Holy Mother, he used to take Holy Mother and make her stay there and used to serve her like anything. And in that room, Holy Mother initiated Master Mashay, his wife and his family people. Now, Kankhalashram. A little away from Kankhalashram, he used to stay in a hut. And he used to continuously keep company with Swami Turiyananji there. And in Vrindavan, he saw the swing festival and a drama of that Raslila party, he had become extremely happy to see. And his love for austerity was tremendous. He wanted to impose upon himself the mode of life of the old sages. So sometimes he would eat only boiled food, sometimes living in huts, sometimes he used to sit for a long time under a tree and the infinite sky, the tall mountains, the infinite ocean, the stars, the vast fields, the thick forest, beautiful tender flowers. All these things used to produce in him thoughts of God. So, mentally, he used to spend all his time in the places where Rishi stayed. Now, in Mihijam, there was a nice brick house, but he used to stay in a hut near there for doing sadhana. That was in 1923. In 1925, he was in Puri, there also living in a secluded place. So his mind was filled with the thoughts of the ancients. And when he used to explain any mantra of the Upanishads, people used to feel he's like an old sage. You know, he had bright face and beard and all that. One day, while explaining some mantra of the Upanishads, he became so much overpowered by the thoughts therein that he had to go and lie down on the bed due to the force of that. See? And after a long time, he could become normal. He was overpowered by the thoughts of the Upanishads. And even in the house, he used to always meditate. And one more thing he has said, that the thought of death should always be present, then you will not feel attachment to anything of the house. That is his teaching and his behavior. Listen, all good householders and all good sannyasis. What an instructive, what a thrilling. Though he was in the house officially, that was also because they had to write the gospel. And he never liked somebody praising him. If anybody started praising him, immediately used to say, stop this mutual admiration society. That means I will say your praise, you will say my praise. No, we should talk only of God. And this was given to him by Thakur, talking only about God. One day he and Naren were talking about school and like that. Thakur said, this is not a good talk. You must talk only of God. And that Master Masha followed throughout his life. Once, very funny thing, he used to stay in the Gadadhar Ashram in the Bhavanipur area of Calcutta. Now from there, suppose he had to go to his house for some work. He would tell in the ashram, today I will not take food here, I am going to a devotee's house. As sadhu sometimes tell in the mud, today I am going to some devotee's house. He used to go to his own house, but tell in the Gadadhar ashram, today I will not take food here, I am going to some devotee's house. So much unattached he was. He had to go to his house because he was in householder and there were many matters, worldly matters, and he had to attend to that. Oh, we have crossed the limits today. So, as I said, we will continue it tomorrow also. The remainder of this. We have not yet talked about gospel. Na? So, we shall continue this thing tomorrow also. So, today one funny thing happened, let me tell you, that I was using the university books, both Bengali and English. And a thought had come to me that 11th I am going to Advaita Ashram, so I will purchase my own copies. But something happened, and I went today to the showroom in Belur Math and purchased those books. And that time I came to know that today is Master Maharaj's birthday. So perhaps Thakur or Master Maharaj, they themselves made me go and purchase the books today itself. Otherwise, let us not think. Om Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kavivirīditam Kalmashāpaham Shravanamangalam Shrimad-Atatam Bhuyi Grunanti Ye Bhurida Jana. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. And salutations to Mahendranāth Gupta or Master Maharaj also.